Picture this. It's 2 a.m. and you're still scrolling through your phone, eyes burning, mind racing, yet unable to put the device down. You know you should be sleeping, but the constant stream of notifications, likes, and fleeting dopamine hits keeps you tethered to the screen. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In fact, you're one of millions caught in the addictive web of the modern world's dopamine trap. But what if I told you there's a way out? A way to reclaim your focus, rediscover your passions, and truly take control of your life? This might be your ticket to breaking free from the cycle of instant gratification and rediscovering what truly matters. But brace yourself, because this journey isn't for the faint of heart. It's a challenge that will push you to your limits, force you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself, and ultimately, transform your life in ways you never thought possible. Are you ready to take the red pill and see how deep the rabbit hole goes? Then buckle up, because we're about to embark on a mind-bending journey that will change the way you think about pleasure, motivation, and the very essence of what drives human behavior. Before we proceed, let's first understand our brain's reward system. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty of dopamine detox, let's take a moment to understand what we're up against. Dopamine, often dubbed the feel-good neurotransmitter, is much more than just a chemical that makes us happy. It's the driving force behind our motivation, our desires, and our ability to find pleasure in life. Imagine you're a caveman or cavewoman living 10,000 years ago. You're hungry, and you spot a juicy fruit hanging from a nearby tree. As you reach for it, your brain releases a small burst of dopamine, creating a sense of anticipation. When you finally bite into the sweet, succulent flesh, you're rewarded with an even bigger dopamine hit. This primitive reward system evolved to ensure our survival, motivating us to seek out food, water, and other essential resources. Fast forward to the 21st century, and our brains are still wired the same way. But instead of searching for berries in the forest, we're bombarded with an endless array of dopamine triggers: social media likes, video game achievements, junk food, pornography, and countless other sources of instant gratification. Our ancient reward system, designed for a world of scarcity, is now drowning in a sea of artificial stimuli. The result? A society increasingly addicted to quick fixes and fleeting pleasures, unable to find satisfaction in the slower, more meaningful aspects of life. We've become like lab rats, constantly pressing the lever for another hit of dopamine, even as the rewards become less and less satisfying. But here's where it gets really interesting and slightly terrifying. The more we indulge in these artificial dopamine hits, the more our brain's reward system becomes desensitized. Activities that once brought us joy now feel dull and unfulfilling. We need bigger and more frequent hits just to feel normal. It's a vicious cycle that leaves us feeling empty, anxious, and perpetually unsatisfied. So, what's the solution? How do we break free from this dopamine-driven madness and reclaim control of our lives? The answer lies in a radical approach that's been gaining traction in recent years: the dopamine detox. Dopamine detox is often considered as the reset button for your brain. Now, before you start imagining some sci-fi procedure to drain dopamine from your brain, let me clarify. A dopamine detox isn't about eliminating dopamine entirely. That would be impossible and extremely dangerous. Instead, it's about resetting your brain's reward system by temporarily abstaining from artificial sources of dopamine stimulation. Think of it like rebooting a glitchy computer. Sometimes, the only way to fix a system that's gone haywire is to shut it down completely and start fresh. That's essentially what a dopamine detox does for your brain's reward circuitry. The concept is simple, but the execution, that's where things get challenging. A true dopamine detox involves cutting out all unnecessary sources of stimulation for a set period, typically 24 to 72 hours. That means no social media, no smartphones or computers, except for essential work or communication, and no video games, no junk food or sugary treats, no TV or streaming services, and no music or podcasts, no recreational drugs or alcohol, no unnecessary shopping or online browsing. Sounds extreme, doesn't it? That's because it is. The goal is to create an environment of relative sensory deprivation, forcing your brain to recalibrate its dopamine receptors. By removing all the artificial stimuli we've become accustomed to, we give our brains a chance to reset to a more natural baseline. But here's where it gets really interesting. As you push through the initial discomfort and boredom of a dopamine detox, something remarkable begins to happen. The world around you starts to come into sharper focus. Colors seem more vivid. Flavors become more intense. Simple activities like taking a walk in nature or having a conversation with a friend suddenly feel deeply rewarding. It's as if you've been living your life with the volume turned up to 11, and now, for the first time in years, you can hear the subtle nuances and harmonies that were always there, just drowned out by the noise. But let's be real, a dopamine detox isn't a walk in the park. In fact, for the first few hours or even days, it can feel downright miserable. You might experience symptoms like intense boredom, irritability and mood swings, difficulty concentrating, fatigue or lethargy, cravings for your usual dopamine triggers, anxiety or restlessness. These withdrawal-like symptoms are your brain's way of protesting the sudden absence of its usual stimuli. It's used to a certain level of constant stimulation, and when that's taken away, it rebels. But here's the crucial thing to remember. These feelings are temporary. They're the growing pains of a brain learning to find balance and satisfaction in a more natural, sustainable way. As you push through these initial challenges, you'll start to notice subtle shifts in your perception and behavior. Tasks that once felt boring or tedious become more engaging. Your ability to focus improves. You might even find yourself rediscovering old hobbies or interests that had fallen by the wayside. But the benefits of a dopamine detox extend far beyond just feeling good in the moment. By resetting your brain's reward system, you're laying the groundwork for lasting changes in your habits, productivity, and overall well-being. You're breaking free from the cycle of constant stimulation and instant gratification and learning to find joy and satisfaction in the slower, more meaningful aspects of life. So, are you ready to take the plunge and experience the transformative power of a dopamine detox for yourself? In the next section, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of how to actually implement this practice in your life, including strategies for success and potential pitfalls to avoid. But first, let's address the burning question on everyone's mind. Is this just another fad, or is there real science behind the dopamine detox phenomenon? Let's understand the science behind the reset, neuroplasticity, and dopamine regulation. Before we dive into the practical aspects of implementing a dopamine detox, it's crucial to understand the scientific principles that make this practice so powerful. After all, we're not just talking about a trendy wellness fad here. We're delving into the fascinating world of neuroplasticity and the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and rewire itself. At the heart of the dopamine detox concept is a phenomenon known as dopamine sensitivity. When we constantly bombard our brains with high levels of dopamine through artificial stimuli like social media, video games, or junk food, our neurons actually start to reduce the number of dopamine receptors they express. This is the brain's way of maintaining balance, a process called downregulation. The problem is, with fewer receptors, we need more and more stimulation to achieve the same level of pleasure or satisfaction. It's like turning up the volume on a speaker to compensate for hearing loss. Except in this case, we're turning up the intensity of our experiences to compensate for a desensitized reward system. This is where the magic of neuroplasticity comes into play. By temporarily removing these artificial sources of stimulation during a dopamine detox, we give our brains a chance to upregulate dopamine receptors. In other words, our neurons start to increase the number of receptors, making us more sensitive to natural sources of dopamine. Dr. Anna Lemke, a psychiatrist and addiction expert at Stanford University, explains it this way. When we've been overexposed to high dopamine stimuli, our brain adapts by decreasing dopamine signaling. The only way to bring our dopamine back into balance is to decrease our exposure to dopamine-releasing stimuli. But here's where it gets really exciting. This process of neural adaptation doesn't just affect our sensitivity to dopamine. It can actually reshape our neural pathways, changing the way we think, feel, and behave on a fundamental level. Consider this real-life example. Sarah, a 28-year-old graphic designer, had been struggling with procrastination and lack of focus for years. She decided to try a 72-hour dopamine detox as a last resort. The first day was miserable. She felt anxious, irritable, and overwhelmed by boredom. But by the third day, something remarkable happened. She found herself spontaneously cleaning her apartment, an activity she'd been putting off for weeks. Even more surprisingly, she actually enjoyed it. It was like my brain had been reset, Sarah recalled. Suddenly, tasks that used to feel overwhelming seemed manageable, even satisfying. I could focus for hours without reaching for my phone. It was like rediscovering a part of myself I'd forgotten existed. Sarah's experience is a perfect illustration of neuroplasticity in action. By removing the constant stream of high dopamine stimuli, her brain had a chance to recalibrate, forming new neural connections and rediscovering pleasure in everyday activities. But the benefits of a dopamine detox go beyond just improving focus and productivity. Research has shown that regulating dopamine levels can have profound effects on our mental health, potentially alleviating symptoms of depression, anxiety, and even addiction. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Behavioral Addictions found that a short-term digital detox, a form of dopamine detox, led to significant improvements in mood, sleep quality, and overall well-being among participants. The researchers noted that these benefits were likely due to a combination of reduced stress, improved sleep, and a recalibration of the brain's reward system. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but how does it translate to real-world results? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the practical side of implementing a dopamine detox in your own life. And let me tell you, the results can be nothing short of life-changing. But before we get to that, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. If a simple 24 to 72 hour reset can have such profound effects on our brain chemistry and behavior, imagine what consistent, mindful regulation of our dopamine levels could do for our long-term health, happiness, and personal growth. The possibilities are truly mind-boggling. So, are you ready to take control of your brain's reward system and unlock your true potential? In the next section, we'll break down the step-by-step process of implementing a dopamine detox, including strategies for success, potential pitfalls to avoid, and how to maintain the benefits long after the detox is over. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. It could be the key to transforming your life in ways you never thought possible. Now that we have explained what it means, it is time to delve deeper into the Dopamine Detox Protocol, a neural reset guide. Alright, it's time to get down to brass tacks. You understand the science, you're intrigued by the potential benefits, and you're ready to take the plunge into the world of dopamine detox. But how exactly do you go about it? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Here's your comprehensive, no-nonsense guide to implementing a dopamine detox in your own life. Step 1. Choose your detox level. Not all dopamine detoxes are created equal. Depending on your current lifestyle and goals, you might want to start with a gentler approach or dive straight into the deep end. Here are 3 levels to consider. 1. Beginner detox, 12 hours. This is a great starting point for those new to the concept. Choose a 12-hour period, like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., to abstain from all unnecessary dopamine triggers. 2. Intermediate detox, 24 hours. A full day of detox, typically from waking up one day to waking up the next. This is challenging but manageable for most people. 3. Advanced detox, 72 hours or more. For those ready for a more intense reset. This extended period can lead to profound insights and changes, but requires serious commitment. Step 2. Prepare your environment. Success in a dopamine detox largely depends on your ability to remove temptations. Here's how to set yourself up for success. Clear your space. Remove or hide dopamine triggers like gaming consoles, snack foods, and unnecessary electronics. Inform your circle. Let friends and family know you'll be unavailable during your detox period. Plan alternative activities. Have books, art supplies, or other low-stimulation activities ready. Prepare healthy meals. Stock up on whole foods to avoid the temptation of ordering in or snacking on junk. Step 3. The detox begin. When your chosen detox period begins, here's what to avoid. Social media and unnecessary internet use. Video games and TV. Junk food and sugary snacks. a recreational drugs and alcohol, a shopping or browsing online stores, music and podcasts for more intense detoxes. Instead, focus on a reading physical books, a journaling or writing, meditation or prayer, a light exercise or yoga, engaging in face-to-face conversations, pursuing creative hobbies, drawing, knitting, woodworking, etc. Spending time in nature. Step 4. Navigate the challenges. Let's be real. The first few hours of a dopamine detox can be tough. You might experience intense boredom, irritability or mood swings, difficulty concentrating, strong urges to check your phone or engage in other habitual behaviors. Remember, these feelings are temporary. They're signs that your brain is beginning to reset. Instead of fighting these sensations, try to observe them with curiosity. What does boredom really feel like in your body? How does the urge to check your phone manifest? Here's a powerful technique to help you push through: the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise. When you feel overwhelmed, 5. Acknowledge 5 things you see around you. 4. Acknowledge 4 things you can touch around you. 3. Acknowledge 3 things you hear. 2. Acknowledge 2 things you can smell. 1. Acknowledge 1 thing you can taste. This simple practice can help anchor you in the present moment and ride out the waves of discomfort. Step 5. Reflect and reintegrate. As your detox period comes to an end, take some time to reflect on your experience. Some questions to consider. How did your energy levels and mood change throughout the detox? What activities or thoughts did you find yourself drawn to in the absence of your usual stimuli? Did you have any insights about your habitual behaviors or thought patterns? How do you feel now compared to before the detox? The goal isn't just to white-knuckle your way through a period of deprivation. It's to gain insights that you can apply to create lasting change in your life. Maybe you realized how much time you usually spend mindlessly scrolling, or perhaps you rediscovered a forgotten passion for drawing. Use these insights to make intentional choices about how you want to reintegrate technology and other dopamine-triggering activities into your life. Step 6. Maintain the benefits. The real challenge and the real reward comes after the detox is over. How do you maintain the benefits and prevent sliding back into old habits? Here are some strategies. 1. Implement regular mini detoxes. Consider doing a 12-hour detox once a week or a full 24-hour detox once a month to keep your dopamine sensitivity in check. 2. Create no-phone zones. Designate certain areas of your home, like the bedroom or dining table, as phone-free zones. 3. Practice mindful consumption. Before engaging with any dopamine-triggering activity, pause and ask yourself, is this really what I want to be doing right now? How will I feel afterward? 4. Cultivate high-quality leisure. Invest time in activities that provide deeper, more sustainable satisfaction, like learning a new skill, nurturing relationships, or engaging in creative pursuits. 5. Use technology intentionally. Instead of mindlessly reaching for your phone, set specific times for checking emails or social media. Use apps that limit your screen time or block distracting websites during work hours. 6. Prioritize sleep and exercise. Both play crucial roles in regulating dopamine and other neurotransmitters. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night and regular physical activity. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all sources of dopamine stimulation from your life. That would be neither practical nor desirable. Instead, the aim is to create a healthier, more balanced relationship with these stimuli, allowing you to enjoy them without being controlled by them. This is how dopamine detox can transform every aspect of your life. Now that we've covered the how-to of dopamine detox, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The effects of recalibrating your brain's reward system don't just stop at improved focus or reduced phone addiction. They can ripple out to transform virtually every aspect of your life. 1. Rediscovering passion and purpose. Mark, a 35-year-old software engineer, had been feeling increasingly disconnected from his work and hobbies. I used to love coding, he said, but over the years, it just became another thing I did between scrolling sessions on my phone. After a 72-hour dopamine detox, Mark experienced a profound shift. On the third day, I found myself spontaneously opening my old coding projects. Suddenly, the challenges that used to frustrate me became exciting puzzles to solve. It was like falling in love with my work all over again. This rekindling of passion isn't uncommon after a dopamine detox. By removing the constant stream of easy stimulation, we create space to reconnect with the deeper, more meaningful sources of fulfillment in our lives. 2. Enhancing creativity and problem solving. The link between boredom and creativity is well established in psychological research. When we're constantly stimulated, our minds don't have the chance to wander and make novel connections. A dopamine detox creates the optimal conditions for creative breakthroughs. Take the case of Emma, a graphic designer who had been struggling with creative block. "I was always looking for inspiration online," she said, "but somehow I felt less and less inspired." After a 24-hour dopamine detox, Emma experienced a surge of creativity. "Without my usual distractions, my mind started making these incredible connections. I filled an entire sketchbook with ideas in just one day." 3. Improving relationships and emotional intelligence. Our addiction to digital dopamine hits doesn't just affect our personal productivity, it can also impact our relationships. How many times have you been in a conversation, only to realize you missed half of what was said because you were checking your phone? A dopamine detox can dramatically improve your ability to be present and engaged in your interactions with others. Many people report feeling more connected to their loved ones, more attuned to nonverbal cues, and better able to empathize after a period of digital detox. John, a 40-year-old father of two, was surprised by how his relationship with his kids changed after a weekend dopamine detox. "I realized how often I'd been half listening to them, always with one eye on my phone," he said. "During the detox, we had the most amazing conversations. I felt like I was really seeing and hearing them for the first time in years." 4. Boosting physical health and vitality. The benefits of a dopamine detox aren't just mental, they can have profound effects on your physical health as well. By breaking the cycle of constant stimulation, many people find it easier to establish consistent sleep patterns, make healthier food choices, find motivation for regular exercise, reduce stress and anxiety levels. Lisa, a 29-year-old teacher, was amazed by the physical changes she experienced after her first dopamine detox. "I'd been struggling with insomnia for years," she said. "But after just 24 hours without my usual electronics, I slept like a baby. And the next day, I actually wanted to go for a run instead of reaching for a sugary snack. It was like my body was finally able to tell me what it really needed." 5. Unlocking flow states and peak performance. In positive psychology, a flow state is a mental state in which a person is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of an activity. It's often described as being in the zone. Interestingly, the conditions that promote flow states, clear goals, immediate feedback, and a balance between challenge and skill, are often more accessible after a dopamine detox. With our brains no longer constantly seeking the next hit of stimulation, we're better able to immerse ourselves fully in the task at hand. Alex, a professional musician, was stunned by how his practice sessions changed after a 48-hour dopamine detox. "Usually, I'd practice for maybe an hour before getting distracted," he said. "But after the detox, I sat down at the piano and looked up 5 hours later. I'd been completely lost in the music. I made more progress in that one session than I had in the previous month." 6. Cultivating mindfulness and self-awareness. At its core, a dopamine detox is an exercise in mindfulness. By removing our usual distractions, we're forced to sit with our thoughts and feelings, often for the first time in years. This can lead to profound insights and a deeper understanding of ourselves. Many people report experiencing a kind of mental clarity during and after a dopamine detox. Without the constant noise of notifications, updates, and digital chatter, they're able to hear their own inner voice more clearly. Sarah, a 45-year-old executive, described her experience this way. "During my detox, I realized how much of my behavior was driven by the need for constant validation, likes on social media, emails from work, even the ping of a new message. Sitting with that realization was uncomfortable, but it was also incredibly freeing. I finally understood why I always felt so anxious and unfulfilled, no matter how much I achieved. This increased self-awareness can be the catalyst for profound personal growth and positive life changes. I am so glad you have stuck around this far. Gaining all this knowledge would be nothing if you don't know how to integrate dopamine detox into your lifestyle. As we near the end of our exploration into the world of dopamine detox, you might be feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. The potential benefits are clear, but the prospect of disconnecting from our usual sources of stimulation can be daunting. Remember, the goal isn't to permanently eliminate all sources of dopamine stimulation from your life. Rather, it's about creating a healthier, more balanced relationship with these stimuli. It's about taking back control of your attention, your time, and ultimately your life. Here are some final thoughts to consider as you embark on your own dopamine detox journey. 1. Start small. If the idea of a full 24 or 72-hour detox feels overwhelming, start with a 12-hour overnight detox. Remember, any step towards more mindful consumption is a step in the right direction. 2. Be compassionate with yourself. You might slip up during your detox, and that's okay. Don't use it as an excuse to abandon the entire process. Simply acknowledge the lapse, reflect on what triggered it, and continue with your detox. 3. Use the buddy system. Consider doing a dopamine detox with a friend or family member. Having someone to share the experience with can provide motivation and accountability. 4. Journal your experience. Keeping a record of your thoughts, feelings, and insights during the detox can be incredibly valuable. It can help you identify patterns and make more lasting changes. 5. Focus on addition, not just subtraction. While the detox involves removing certain stimuli, it's equally important to add positive activities to your life. Use the detox as an opportunity to explore new hobbies, deepen relationships, or pursue long-forgotten passions. 6. Make it a regular practice. Consider incorporating regular mini detoxes into your routine. Even a weekly 12-hour break from digital stimulation can help maintain the benefits over time. As we wrap up this journey into the world of dopamine detox, I want to leave you with one final thought. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, the ability to disconnect, to sit with our own thoughts, to engage deeply with the world around us, to find joy in simplicity, is becoming a rare and valuable skill. By mastering the art of the dopamine detox, you're not just improving your focus or boosting your productivity. You're reclaiming your autonomy in a world designed to hijack your attention. You're rediscovering the richness of lived experience in a culture of constant distraction. You're taking back control of your life, one conscious choice at a time. So, are you ready to take the plunge? To rediscover what it feels like to be fully present, fully engaged, fully alive? The journey of dopamine detox isn't always easy, but I promise you this. On the other side of that initial discomfort lies a world of clarity, purpose, and deep, sustainable fulfillment. The choice is yours. Will you stay trapped in the cycle of constant stimulation and fleeting satisfaction? Or will you take that first brave step towards true freedom and control? Please know that every journey begins with a single step. Your step could be as simple as putting your phone away for the next hour and truly engaging with the world around you. Who knows what insights, connections, or moments of beauty you might discover? The path to reclaiming control of your life is before you.